Hello, everyone. My name is Professor Abar, and today I will be providing you with an introduction to cybercrime. Cybercrimes, propelled by rapid technological advancements, have evolved into a global concern, transcending traditional boundaries, posing substantial threats to national and international security. In this module, you will develop a comprehensive overview of what cybercrime entails and the fundamental issues surrounding this topic. An overview of cybercrime. First, let's look at what defines the internet. An internet, it's a network of networks, a collection of thousands of interconnected smaller networks that allow communication among millions of devices globally. It is a free flow of information, and that's also dependent on the country you live in. More on that later. Cybercrime in brief, activities spanning various criminal pursuits using digital devices and/or networks. Cybercrime differs from traditional crime in that it knows no physical or geographical boundaries. It is easier, faster, and cheaper to conduct because of technological advancement. However, let's go over a few definitions from international bodies. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime defines cybercrime as an act that violates the law, which is perpetrated using information and communication technology, or ICT, to either target networks, systems, data, websites, and/or technology, or facilitate a crime. Europol differentiates cybercrime into two categories: cyber-dependent crimes and cyber-enabled crimes. Cyber-dependent crimes, a crime that can only be committed using computers, computer networks, or other forms of information communication technology. You can view it as an offensive tool. This form of committing a crime adversely affects the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of computer data or systems. This is known as the CIA triad. Computer systems, networks, data, and technology are the target. In simplest terms, private information should remain private. Secondly, cyber-enabled crimes. These are traditional crimes that are facilitated by the internet and digital technologies. You can view it as modus operandi. This form of committing a crime uses traditional crime, such as theft and fraud, facilitated by the internet and technology. In simplest terms, ICT is part of the MO. The key distinction here are the roles that ICT plays, used as either an offensive tool or as the modus operandi. Cybercrime is a national threat, as I mentioned, but just as much as it is a national threat, it is also a global threat. Let's move on to the fundamental issues. First of all, the internet allows for anonymity, where identities can be spoofed. This becomes a fundamental issue when trying to combat cybercrime because people can hide behind a group committing cybercrime and continue to commit crimes and other nefarious activities without revealing themselves. Secondly, there are no borders in cyberspace, as I mentioned earlier. The internet transcends national boundaries, but not laws. Laws are applicable within national boundaries. So when illicit activities are being committed on a computer network and/or digital device, let's say from Russia to the United States, it becomes challenging to enforce laws. For example, let's look at a perpetrator. A perpetrator of a cybercrime launches an attack from the initiator country, wherever they are residing in. The victim of a cybercrime or victims of that cybercrime can be located in another country. Because of this, it becomes challenging when gathering intelligence because of the level of anonymity the internet provides individuals. It is also difficult to track the origin of the attack, thus not being able to attribute or accurately attribute an attack back to the perpetrator. Cybercrimes are committed by individuals, groups, organizations, and nation states. To clarify, cybercrimes are not only committed by individuals, these are also done by groups, organizations, and nation states. In addition to these fundamental issues, there are already several international conflicts associated with the internet. Some of these issues span across censorship of information, where some countries want to prevent their citizens from obtaining certain information in fear of political instability. Iran is a perfect case example of this. Other issues include cyber warfare and governance of the internet. For instance, Russia and Iran are looking into creating their own internet. Another issue, most importantly, is espionage. I mentioned some of these issues because they are interconnected with cybercrime, as you will learn later throughout this course. As discussed, there are various definitions of cybercrime and what constitutes a crime of cyber. Because of the lack of a universally accepted definition, it becomes even more challenging for countries to prosecute. As a result, negotiations began for a UN cybercrime treaty. However, authoritarian countries such as Russia, China, and Iran have their own agenda in place. I have included a brief report on this as optional reading for further exploration. I strongly encourage you all to read the report, as it will provide you with further insights into the Cybercrime Treaty and gain a brief geopolitical analysis of the issue of cybercrime through a global lens. Now that we have reviewed what cybercrime is and addressed fundamental issues, let's go over some common types of cyber-related crimes. A few of the most common types of cybercrime: hacking, which is an unauthorized access to computer systems, networks, or websites. Fraud is the use of technology to deceive individuals or organizations for financial gain, such as phishing scams, credit card fraud, and identity theft. Ransomware. This is a type of malicious software or malware that prevents you from accessing your computer files, systems, or networks and demands you to pay a ransom for their return. Malware is the use of malicious software to damage or disrupt computer systems, networks, and/or devices. Cyberstalking is the use of technology to harass or threaten individuals, often done through social media or some other form of online platform. Cyberbullying is the use of technology to harass, intimidate, or bully individuals, often through social media or other form of online platforms. As discussed earlier, individuals and organizations are heavily reliant on the internet. As more and more individuals use technology for all aspects of their daily lives, cybercrime continues to threaten nation states and the global community. With technological advancements, the level of sophistication in executing cybercrime only increases. That is why it is challenging to create a comprehensive definition that covers all activities, because they all involve different methods, motives, and legal implications. In addition, as mentioned earlier, cybercrime is borderless and has implications on things like priority, investigative approaches, resources, etc. There is also no single legal framework that applies to all nation states. So, because every country has its own laws and distinguishes between legal and illegal activities in the digital space differently, it can be even more challenging to combat cybercrime. Thus, to combat cybercrime, law enforcement agencies, officials, and cybersecurity professionals must work together to attribute a cyber incident accurately and prosecute the individuals behind the attacks. In addition, it is critical for organizations and individuals to implement adequate security measures to prevent future incidents. I won't go too detailed about the motives because we have a module that will cover this in more depth. Still, for general overview purposes, the motives of cyber criminals are diverse. Cyber criminals commit illicit activities for numerous reasons, such as financial gains, political activism, espionage, or simply because they want to conduct a malicious threat. Motivations can also change over time. That is why it is essential to explore the landscape of cyber threat actors and examine their patterns and motives, as well as approaching the understanding of cybercrime through criminology and social science lenses for comprehensive discernment of the issue topic. Furthermore, in different cultures and societies, what constitutes cybercrime may vary based on cultural, ethical, and social norms. An activity that is perceived as cybercrime in one culture may not be viewed similarly in another. Sorry, I'm here checking the time. Okay. For instance, let's go over hacking and intrusion. Unauthorized access to computer systems or networks with the with the intent to steal data or disrupt operations is universally condemned as a cybercrime. However, the severity of punishment and societal attitudes towards hacking can differ, with some cultures being more lenient or even glorifying certain types of hacking activities. Let's put this into perspective. In the United States, there's a strong culture of activism, freedom of speech, and a history of hacker subculture. While unauthorized access to computer systems is illegal under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, there have been cases where hackers who exposed vulnerabilities in government or corporate systems were perceived positively by certain segments of society. For example, the case of Edward Snowden, who leaked classified information about government surveillance programs, sparked debates about government transparency and individual privacy rights. Some viewed Snowden as a whistleblower, exposing government overreach, while others considered him a traitor. Despite differing opinions, there's generally a recognition of the legal consequences of hacking activities. In summary, while hacking and intrusion are universally recognized as cybercrimes, the perception and response to such activities can vary significantly between cultures and countries due to differences in legal systems, societal norms, and government policies. Last but not least, how do we report a cybercrime? The Federal Bureau of Investigation has a cybercrime division. It is the leading federal agency for investigating cyber attacks and intrusions. If anyone is exposed to a cyber attack, they can file a report of the crime to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, also known as IC3. The Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3, is the nation's central hub for reporting cybercrime. The IC3 produces a yearly report on cybercrime. However, cybercrimes often go unnoticed. This is because organizations and individuals feel embarrassed that they have fallen victim to cybercrime. Organizations often give to the offender, for example, if the cybercrime is associated with a ransom. While best practice is not to pay the ransom, some do, mainly due because they want to move on from being a victim and avoid media attention. For this reason, the reporting of cybercrime goes unnoticed. As a result, assessing the extent of cybercrime is challenging, and data on cybercrime is scarce. And that is all for this week's lecture. I hope you all gained valuable information, and if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much.